calm down, cause he just wanna learn something, so I teach him something. I am the one that teach. Call me 10 wins and 20.
Now, Bigfoot's an interesting one. I don't discount anything on this flat Earth. And so Bigfoot to me is a possibility. A couple of years ago, I thought I lived on a globe. So, anything is possible. You have a Bigfoot story, and some people have heard it, but some haven't. Would you be willing to talk about it?
Yeah, I always love to talk about Bigfoot. I mean, I have a lot of Bigfoot stories, actually, because I've had quite a few experiences with them. But
really?
Yeah.
I've only heard the one, so maybe it's the big one or the main one, or pick any one of your favorites and just give us a brief overview.
Oh, which one did you hear?
I heard about, I think a child of yours saw a Bigfoot. Is that the one?
Oh, yeah, that's one. That's probably, that was one of the most surprising ones that happened when I was outside in my backyard and I was watering the grass. And, I live surrounded by woods, all hardwoods. And my daughter was with me, and she's 3 years old at the time. And she grabbed my leg, like, for dear life. And she was like, "Mommy, there's a Bigfoot over there by the logs. Don't let it get me." And I looked over there and I didn't see anything. And I just thought, well, that was really strange and random. And I just told her, "Well, don't worry about it. It's okay. Mommy's here and I'm not going to let anything happen to you." And I just kind of forgot about it. And probably like a minute or two later, there was a 40-foot tall tree about 100 feet from my house violently shaking. And there was nothing, it was not a windy day. There was no wind, and it was a very still summer day. And this tree was just shaking back and forth. I could hear it cracking.
Now, did you see the Bigfoot creature?
No. Mm-mm.
But your daughter did. And how did she know that there is such a thing as Bigfoot? Because of all your research?
Probably from my oldest son watching Finding Bigfoot on Animal Planet. And I thought that was, it sort of triggered her to have a, just like an overactive imagination at that time. Because I was out there and it was like broad daylight. And
we always expect the weird things to happen, the scary things, when it's dark, right? So in broad daylight, you feel completely safe. Mm-hmm. Very interesting.
But actually, most of my experiences have happened during the daytime.
So what do you know about this creature? And I'm going to just go ahead and assume what you saw is what you saw. I have absolutely no reason to doubt you, but I remember a controversy maybe 6 months ago or so with people getting in some kind of argument over you saying that Bigfoot's real. Here in the flat earth realm. And I'm like, well, she saw it, you didn't. Let her tell her story. That's my theory on it.
Yeah. I don't know why people get so upset about it. It's probably because they have a lot of mainstream TV shows about it. And I think that's why, but there's a lot of similarities between Bigfoot and flat earth in that, it's one of those things where you can't hide it. You can't hide the fact that the earth is flat, but you can lie about it. You can't hide the fact that these creatures exist because too many people have witnessed it and there's too much evidence to show that they exist, but they're going to lie to you about it. And they're going to tell you, not tell you the truth about who they are or how they relate to us, that sort of thing.
Some people feel that Bigfoot would be a remnant of evolution, but many in flat earth have thrown evolution out the window. So do you think that's another reason that a lot of flat earthers raise one eyebrow when you talk about Bigfoot?
Yeah, but they're not the missing link. They are their own separate species. They just exist alongside of us. But
the question is, if there's Bigfoot, a male or a female, and you're not sure what your daughter saw, there would be others, like the Loch Ness Monster. There wouldn't just be one, there would have to be others. So I would imagine these creatures live in very remote areas and would only come where humans are when they would be in search of food, or if they were kind of a little bit, something had happened and their brains weren't working well. Mm-hmm. Wonder why one came close to where you were and was shaking a tree. Very interesting.
I don't know. I don't think that they do just live in remote areas. I think they live right alongside of us. And it's one of those things where I'm a member of a group, a Facebook group that talks about that they do research on Sasquatch, or actually they call them forest people because they are like people. They have a social structure. They have a language. And all of them say that they live, right alongside of us. I'm not the only person. I've had them in my backyard. I've found footprints in my backyard. I've heard them talking in my backyard. I've just had numerous experiences right here, and I don't live in the deep wilderness. I'm in the country, but there's a neighborhood here with big patches of like large acreage of hardwoods in between.
A creature that is between, what do they say, 6 and 15 feet tall, that would be very, very hard to hide. Mm-hmm. And I know this is a flat earth show, but it's also other hot potatoes. And I think Sasquatch Bigfoot is one of those other hot potatoes, and one of those subjects that if you talk about it, like flat earth, people think you're nuts. And that's why I'm open to all of these things. I don't think something like this would have existed this length of time would there not be validity. And same as the Loch Ness Monster, and same as quote unquote aliens, but just not in the way that we've been told. So very interesting. And so you're in a Sasquatch group on Facebook. I didn't even know there was one. How many members?
About 17,000.
Okay. This is a whole new rabbit hole for me to go down.
It's a pretty big group. There's BFRO, Bigfoot Field Researchers Organization, but they're the ones associated with the Animal Planet show, and they don't tell you the truth. They're kind of, it's like they're like the Bigfoot version of the Flat Earth Society.
Flat Earth Society, yeah, exactly. Now, I remember there was a movie about Bigfoot, Sasquatch, that came out, oh gosh, a really long time ago when I was a child. It was, the guy's name was Patterson who caught it. The footage that anybody would think of when they think of the first time they ever saw a Bigfoot movie or a film about Bigfoot. And that supposedly has been debunked. What do you think about that footage?
Yeah, that's the Patterson-Gimlin footage, where it was Robert Patterson and Bob Gimlin, I think. I might be remembering one guy's name the wrong way, but it was Patterson Gimlin.
It's from the late 60s, so.
Yeah, and it was filmed with a Super 8 camera in Willow Creek, California. And that's like the pinnacle of Bigfoot footage. Like, that's the best one. And it's 100% real, in my opinion. It's been analyzed by numerous scientists and researchers, and nobody's ever been able to recreate a suit and recreate a gate and walk across that area in that same way. To this day, nobody's been able to duplicate it.
You can find it on YouTube in its raw form. You can find it stabilized. I mean, I've seen this, and I was born in 63. So I remember seeing that as I became a young girl, probably the age of your daughter. And I was fascinated by it, but then my interest waned because there's so many other things in the world to look at when you're young and, going through life. And to me, it was just one of those mysterious things that probably is true. And I guess that's where I am here now. But what does the existence of Bigfoot say about us and who we are? Is there a message in the validity of Bigfoot?
I actually feel like there's a lot that could be learned if people were more open to the idea of trying to communicate with them, because anybody can do it. Anybody, if you go into the woods or if you live somewhere where you're able to habituate with a clan or open a line of communication with them, you can do it. You just have to be open to it, and you have to go in with like love in your heart. And it sounds kind of cheesy, but if your intentions are good and you want to communicate with them, they will communicate back with you. And I think that there's a lot to be learned from them because they communicate telepathically.
This is mind-blowing.
Yeah. A lot of people have experienced mind speak, where they've been in the woods and they hear the voice. They hear him talking to them in the woods. Even Les Stroud, the guy who's the Survivor man, he did the Survivalist show. He did a Bigfoot series, and he didn't talk about this on his show, but I heard him on a radio show where he was out by himself in the woods doing another little survival stint that he usually does. And he heard in his head, the forest people communicated to him. They said, if you want to see us, we're over here. We're just on the other side of the hill. We're here if you want to see us. And he said, he was like, you know what? I'm not ready. I couldn't deal with that right now.
Was it fear?
Probably. I mean, I'll go out there and I'll like feel their presence, and I've been out in my woods and I've felt their presence, and like I'll feel this weird energetic vibrating feeling like through my whole body from the neck down, and I'll know like that's got to be them. And sometimes I think I want to see them, but on the other hand, I'm like, man, if I saw one, I don't know. I think I'd be too scared. And I think that's why they don't reveal themselves.
Well, you live in a very wooded area, not as remote as I thought, I guess. And there are hunters, I'm sure. And where there's hunters, there's certain hunters that want to have trophies. And I would think there would be people out there who would love nothing more than to shoot a forest person and put it on display, make some money out of it.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of my theory behind the Patterson-Gimlin film. Like there've been a few other recordings of them, video recordings of them that are pretty good and considered legitimate, like that one. But I think after that one, they sort of had an influx of people just like that, going into the woods and trying to capture one or to shoot one. And I think, once that happened, they were like, okay, well, we can't let people record us. We can't let them see us, because people were trying to hunt them. And they have a collective consciousness. It's like if one knows about it, they all kind of know about it, or if one clan knows about you and knows that you are aware of them and okay with them, well, then they all kind of know about it.
It sounds like a higher form of intelligence than we have, akin to dolphins, a different way of communicating, but a lot more, I hate to use the word evolved, let's say advanced than humans.
Yeah, they're extremely intelligent, and they live, in complete and utter harmony on Earth, with everything, with all other things in nature. They're like protectors. They're a much higher minded being than the rest of us are. They vibrate higher. And that's what I'm saying. There's a lot to learn about them. I think that's why they lie to them about us, because if people were more open to communicating with them, the things that we could learn from them, along with learning that we don't live on a ball in space. I mean, if those two worlds could come together, I just feel like you could just blow the doors off so much stuff that we couldn't even imagine.